What
I
are you doing?
love it when our engineer gives us no countdown because
It
he
is.
likes to catch us in
I know,
mid-conversation.
right?
I thought you like
See if it's a gotcha moment.
I know. He was always trying to
The
get us.
media. The media.
I
Oh,
hate,
wait,
I hate them.
we're the media.
No,
This
we're
is
not the media.
Final time. This is the final time, so I figured I'd.
Yeah, Paul's going to be doing the show, but he's going to be like
That's
5
right.
minutes late every time.
That's right.
So he's
because
not
our-
going to be doing any intros.
The voice of God is his
I know.
mind
No,
is
he'll
divided.
be
He's
still
doing
here.
other things.
He'll still be here, but it'll be late. So,
I bet you're wondering why these babbling idiots are just in midstream conversation and suddenly they're on your television set. Hi.
yeah, why would they do that?
Welcome to Rock, Paper, Hand Grenades. I'm Eric Eastman, and this, of course, is the grand poobah of them all.
Grand Flamage.
At least around here during this hour every week.
Grand Flamage.
The Honorable Gary Hopper.
Thank you, Eric.
Pleased you joined us.
Hey, so this week we got, people may not know, but the governor of the state of New Hampshire, the people who formed our Constitution, the one thing they trusted the least was government and governors. And so they created a governorship in the state of New Hampshire that is arguably the weakest governor in the country. The governor needs permission from 5 members of the council to do anything. I don't know about wiping his butt, but pretty close.
Wow.
And-
that's something I can't unsee now.
I know,
Thanks
I
so
know.
much for that.
But when you think of Sununu, think of the council helping him.
He
So-
can wipe, but he needs their permission to buy the paper.
Right.
To buy
Okay.
it,
Yes.
okay.
Yeah. Okay.
I
That's
don't know
the
about
deal.
if he'd cozy up to the term weakness, though. I mean, it looks like a kind of guy that'd win an arm wrestle. So
Yeah. Whatever.
if you say so.
I'm not that fond of him. So anyway,
Oh,
so the
We love you, Chris.
he loves you, Chris. So anyway, my point was that it is arguably the most powerful position in the state of New Hampshire is Speaker of the House.
Arguably.
Arguably.
And we do
And-
a lot of that.
And this gentleman we have with us today is running for said seat of Speaker
Said
of the House.
speakership.
The speakership.
Captain of the ship.
Steve Smith is from Charlestown, New Hampshire. And the Speaker of the House gets to do a lot of stuff. They have a lot of sway with members of
Yeah.
the bureaucracy up in Concord. Like,
Mm-hmm.
they have a lot to do with whether or not certain departments get their budgets and things like that. So they have a lot of pull.
And House leadership,
And
of
House-
course, defers naturally to the Speaker and must.
The Speaker is the one who. Well, you tell it. Okay. Anyway,
Welcome to the show,
Representative
Steve- Representative Steve Smith.
First
We
thing you got to
appreciate-
do is get re-elected, though.
Yeah.
How's
Yeah.
that going?
Okay. People know me, and in my part of the woods, it's pretty pragmatic. So if they get their roads fixed and I'm not in the paper for doing anything crazy or twisting the heads off of kittens, I usually get reelected.
Twisting the heads off
Yeah,
of kittens.
so,
Has that been a problem?
He turns
It's-
off the Steve cam when he puts the heads off.
Yes,
Off the
thank you.
kittens.
Oh, and for that opening, way to set a tone, Gary. Thanks.
Yes,
Yeah, yeah. What a guy.
It's a rural, pragmatic district. They are not glued to Fox and MSNBC 24/7.
It's a good thing.
Yeah, and mostly they just want to be left alone. Like professional campaigners say, you have to go out and you have to door knock. Oh, Lord, no. You do not door knock in Leominster. They live there because they don't want anybody knocking on their doors.
Right,
you know?
right, right.
They want
Okay.
they want to see me working for it. They want to see me hanging out at the dump, sweating all day, holding my signs, and showing up at fireman's breakfast, which is a cool gig because they're reasonably priced. The food is great,
Yeah.
so it's not bad. Just go out and support the community. It's one of the least political things I have ever done.
Is run for state rep?
Yeah.
Now, how many do you have to put up signs, though?
You do, and they're out in the middle of nowhere. It helps to know the district, so you'll be driving through the trees, haven't seen a house for 3 miles, but if you live there, that's the intersection everybody has to drive through to get to Route 12. So
Right,
you
yeah.
do that stuff where you get that guy's house.
Right.
So, yeah, it's a lot of that. Going out and meeting people in parades. My son just turned 14, and he has been in more parades than he has witnessed. Old home days, things like that. That's fun. He gets to ride in the back of the truck, throw candy at the other kids.
He is the parade.
Did you ever use a slingshot so you can, try to take an eye out, or no?
No.
No.
That was a
Thought
really great
about-
random question to suddenly.
Yeah.
No, it just seems like it'd be fun.
I mean, we've all thought about launchers, like the water balloon launchers. How fun would that be to get the kids in the back and spray them out?
I know there's a lot of cool stuff you could do, but you're trying to get elected also, so it's
Yeah.
kind of counteracts that.
It's my fourth term though, so I've kind of gotten used to it. After the first time, the transition from activist to you succeeded and got elected is a little rough, right? Because before you were trying to make a point, now you have to make a difference. So you get to that first re-election, and before that, my whole thing was working for other campaigns.
Right.
I worked for Fred Thompson, Herman Cain, Bob Guida's congressional campaign, and it's all about what are we mad
You're
about?
in Guida's district?
That, well, 2 is like Salem to Canada, so yeah.
Bob Guida's district
Bob
goes.
Guida ran for Congress in CP2.
When he ran
Yeah,
for
when he ran for
Congress.
Congress.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
I
I was
remember,
thinking.
I remember.
I thought it was you were talking about a state senate, and I was like, no way.
No. Yeah, no, when he ran for Congress. So, but yeah, so you go out and you do that stuff, and you have to do your own stuff at the same time.
Yeah.
So I won, which was kind of it was literally a shock. I didn't know until the next day. I was recruiting somebody to run for a seat that had not sent a Republican to Concord, and we stopped looking back in 20 years of records.
Right.
And, as you're out talking to people and you get closer, the conversation starts to go, yeah, well, you're out here. Why don't you do it? Oh, no, because I'm not going to ask them to stand up and then sit down myself.
Yeah. It's hard to.
Yeah, so I did it and did everything I was supposed to, worked hard, even though, you got no shot, can't win. 2008, I was the GOP punching bag, lost. 2010, did the same thing again. Packed my crap up at the end of the day, went home, went to bed, and my wife wakes me up the next morning. She goes, "We got a problem." It's what? She goes, "Well, you won." Oh. So, worked it out.
Ruh-roh.
Yeah, awkward conversation with my employer, but we worked it out. And then 2012, for the first time, I am not the rabble-rousing, I'm against all this stuff, and that's why I'm active. I have to tell people, what did I amount to over the last 2 years?
Right.
And it's a really retrospective moment where you go, well, what exactly did I do? What did I work on? What got passed? And did it matter to the people? Did it make their lives better or easier?
Yeah.
And after I got past that hurdle, it's been a lot easier. Every session, I have tried to make sure that I am behind, push, and succeed at least a couple of things that they can actually see in their daily lives.
Okay.
So that's the key to.
That's
to
actually
doing it.
cool. I never really. I mean, I was successful my first term getting a bill through that people like at the Fish and Game Club knew about and knew that it went through, but I never really looked at it like that. Most of my time up there, I'm trying to stop stupid crap from happening.
Well, we solve problems. We had an interesting one with my town. You heard of the Driver Privacy Act? Makes it really hard in New Hampshire to give DMV records to anybody under
Yeah.
any circumstances
Yes.
without it being an actual crime.
Right.
Okay.
Okay, so you have that.
Neil
And-
Kirk bills.
Was that?
Neil Kirk bills.
Yeah. Although this one, what is it, 216, I think? It's pretty all-encompassing. So my town clerk is in the middle of a whole local politics throwdown and is required to do a town audit, and she's required to do that audit by statute. Now, you can have 3 kinds of town auditors. You can elect one, like a lot of towns do, or you can hire a municipal auditor, which is what most cities do, or if you're a little town like us, you just hire some CPA to do the books.
Yep.
She called the Department of Safety and said, I was looking at the Driver Privacy Act. They have to look at the DMV transactions that I've taken money for. What DMV records can I let them see? And they said, oh, none, or you're going to jail. And she goes, but I'm required to do it by statute. She goes, well, you can't go to jail for that, so I guess you're going to have to choose. It turns out she was the first town clerk to ever ask the question.
Oh, okay.
So when the auditors, up until that point, had been verifying things with the Department of Safety, it was like don't ask, don't tell. It never came up. So she asked. So we had to hijack a bill that I had in my committee. It's helpful to be the chairman of the Transportation Committee, which does a lot of Driver Privacy Act bills.
Right.
And we had one that was never going to pass, so we got it at an authorized non-government municipal agents in the course of doing a statutorily required audit to be able to do that. But so it's things like that. The town had to do something. They were stymied by the spider web of state laws that
Right.
keeps them from doing their job.
Okay.
Solve the problem.
Okay.
So there's a lot of stuff like that we do that I don't think people talk about enough.
Well, transportation is also a committee that actually is more apt to directly affect constituents than, like, I'm on judiciary, most of it's abstract.
Yeah, or you have to be in trouble, right?
Oh, yeah, or you have to be in trouble.
Yeah. So well, we had that surcharge on the car registrations. The funny story about that. It
Was that the one wh-
10 years ago? It was like $35 and $75,
Yeah.
and the state rep for my town at the time, elderly lady, went in to register her car, and they told her how much it was, and well, that's criminal. It was way less than that last time, and they didn't know what to say. Like, but Cynthia, you voted for it, so
Oh, that hurts.
to get rid of that. One that I put through. You're allowed to drive a rusty vehicle. Why does being pretty have anything to do with a safety inspection?
Right.
So rocker panels on a car, that's the thing under the door.
It's,
Sure.
yeah.
It is not structural. If you cut it off, your car is just as safe as it was before.
Right.
But if you get a rust hole in it, they make you fix it, right? Why? So we
So if there's no perforation as a result of rust into the cab, and you cut
Who
it off,
cares?
you're
should-
fine.
It shouldn't matter. Yeah. So we actually got that through, and
Does it any
You
help?
you just helped me because I'm restoring a '72 pickup truck.
There you go.
And it's got that issue, and I haven't taken it for inspection for that reason. So thank you for that.
you're welcome. See, helping people
like
with
this
everyday
every day,
problems.
every day.
I like this guy.
Well, the thing is too is you get a certain percentage of the population that is, working at minimum wage or around that barrier. They can't afford thousands of dollars just to get their car inspected every year.
Yep.
That's insane.
It's true.
The other one that I was wondering if any progress has been made is, and I know it's been attempted in different variations, is to the emissions test to either change that so that doesn't go so far back in years, or at least make it every other year so people aren't spending an arm and a leg trying to get, or like buying a catalytic converter and all that other crap. When the car runs fine, but it just doesn't pass the emissions.
Yeah. So it's a 20-year rolling window now. It used to be 90, 95 and up, 96 and up. Now it's
Okay.
a 20-year rolling windows. So this year 98s, don't have to worry about it. 20 years and older. So there's that. Getting rid of the emissions program. The problem
We'll
is
go every other year was the idea.
Yeah, the problem though is it's tied to the Clean Air Act, and there are federal funds that come in, and those would stop and penalties that we pay unless you get the new plan approved, and nobody ever does that work when they submit these bills.
Okay.
That's a ton of work. Or you have to have the guts to say, I just don't want to do it, and I'm willing to take the $8 million hit. But
Right.
we just get repeal bills and vague arguments about personal liberty and everything. That's fine, but show me the money. This is real life. It's
Right.
$8 million.
Yeah.
Sure.
So you could do it,
Absolutely.
but you'd have to get federal approval for it.
To alter the plan. If you just wanted to repeal it, then it's a money thing. You have to be willing to do without the money.
Okay.
Is that a matching fund, or is that money that's dispersed from the feds based on the state's compliance?
Yeah, it's transitory. There are some penalties that we'll pay if we don't do it. I actually
Okay.
don't know what those are, but the money that we get in is a pretty substantial amount of money, and we do turn a profit on the program.
I see.
Okay.
Details.
Hey,
It's
Anyway.
important to know stuff if you're going
It
to make
is.
these big decisions.
Yeah.
It is.
Yeah, we get car inspection repeal bills all the time, and they don't separate out the emissions part. Like, I'm happy to do this, but I am not going to do the work for you to find the $8-10 million and figure out what the federal loopholes are.
Right.
And they just kind of stop working at that point, but get mad at me because I didn't do their bill for them. That's not how this works.
No, yeah, no, we get those in judiciary where somebody comes with an idea and it might be a great idea, but when you really look into it, the amount of work that's going to go into trying to make that simple thing actually become a reality,
Yes.
it's like, yes,
Making it work. We
Yeah.
don't pass ideas. We pass words on paper that are implementable, enforceable, and affordable.
right, exactly. And it's not, the chasm between a good idea and actually passing into law is pretty huge.
Yeah.
Hey, so Speaker of the House, that's what you came to talk about. Speaker of the House, explain to the people what the Speaker of the House is and does.
The Speaker of the House literally runs the House of Representatives, everything from facilities and buildings maintenance to making sure that we get our bills on time, they go to the right place, and hopefully that we get the right result on them. The House of Representatives is a factory. You have legislative service requests, LSRs. Those come in, they get turned into bills that go to committee and get processed out on a deadline. There are times where we get our bills late and we don't get the time to work on them. That's one problem. They go to the wrong committee. That can be another problem. Some of the things that were done well, believe it or not, by former Speaker Jasper was putting certain bills in committees where there was some leeway about where it could go
Yeah.
to get a right result. I got the bill for insurance companies covering aftermarket parts on your vehicle. They could require you to put aftermarket parts on your car, which I guess if you're driving, you know, an 8-year-old compact economy car is okay, but what about a new Corvette? You want original equipment on it, because that car is not your car, it's an investment.
Right.
So they knew if they went to Commerce, all the right parties would show up and it would probably die, so he actually gave me that one, and we got that one through.
Okay.
It was brutal, 3.5-hour hearing. All the insurance guys are mad at me.
Oh,
But-
no. It's pretty
They'll
sad.
get over it.
Yeah.
So doing things like that, channeling, making sure the right people are in the right positions and managing those positions. I think, I mean, especially being a Republican, that we should run the House like a business. So you've got the CEO as the Speaker of the House.
Yeah.
Then you have senior management and the VPs. Those are like the majority leader and the deputy speaker, the speaker pro tem, and higher-ranking assistant majority leaders.
Yeah.
And then you've got your line managers, the committee chairman, and we're supposed to produce a product, right? And if somebody isn't pulling their weight to get that product done, well, they should be replaced.
Yeah.
So that's pretty much it. You get those initial ideas, turn them into workable bills that you can actually do. If there's money, find a way to pay for it, and pass it out. I don't think a lot of people understand the nuance that we rarely vote on a bill. We vote on whether or not to accept a committee report, and we usually do accept committee reports. So getting the right report is critical.
Yeah, I think most people don't understand. If you look at like my voting record, if I voted for Senate Bill 200, I don't know what that is, but just say for instance,
Yes.
And I'm on the House floor and I vote for it, I might not be voting for it because the committee report might be inexpedient to legislate on
Yes.
Senate Bill 200. So if I vote yes, I'm actually just agreeing with the committee.
Yes.
It's
So by
not a
voting
ref-
yes, you're voting no.
Yeah, exactly. So it is kind of confusing.
Newbies like I was a couple of years ago, we have to wrap our heads around that, and it takes some people a little bit longer, but eventually we get it. Oftentimes it seems like a double negative, and we're trying to understand what the implications are.
Yeah. Oh, I did that totally the first time. I'm looking at
Sure.
the guy I'm running against, and like, he voted for this? How is that possible? Because I think that was a great bill, and he's crazy. So, but yeah, and then you get into the whole nuance, an OTP or an OTPA ought to pass as amended. It could be something totally different than when it started life, like
Yep.
that bill I was telling you about with my town clerk. It was some, I don't know, the right-to-know bill that I ended up with, and instead turned out to a municipal clerk being authorized to give the
Right.
DMV records to somebody.
Right, exactly.
Original title, not always what the bill is.
No, it's not.
So anyway, those committee reports, most people just go, oh, well, the committee's probably right, and they vote with the committee. One of the speaker's biggest responsibilities is to make sure that on the big ticket items, the ones that really matter to the caucus, that committee report is correct.
Yes, yep. Or accurately reflects
Yeah,
the committee's decision and the nature of the bill.
absolutely.
Because a lot of times they're kind of vague and it does not reflect that, so it's false advertising at best.
Oh, sure. And, well, not even the language, but I mean the actual report. If the caucus position is ought to pass on a given bill, you want that committee chairman to do backflips and jump through hoops to get OTP.
Right,
And if it isn't going to be for any reason, I know I always give the speaker or the majority leader a heads up way in advance. I know you want this, I can't get it done, here's why. and then work on overcoming those objections.
Right, yeah, we ran into that on Marcy's Law, because that came to us, and the speaker and everybody else, the governor, everybody wanted that to pass.
Yeah.
But it was a junk. It was horrible. It was got to be one of the worst pieces of legislation I've seen since I was elected in 2000.
Yeah,
It had some worrisome implications, that's for sure.
yeah, and
put
you
it-
can't
to put
go
it
back
mildly.
Very
from
mildly.
a constitutional amendment if the people pass it. And that one was higher risk than others because there was millions of dollars in advertising behind it.
Oh, yeah.
So that means that if the legislature did put it out there to the voters, you know there's going to be millions of dollars in an ad campaign for it. Where's the money going to come from against it?
Nothing. There'd be
Yeah.
nothing. Yeah, it would have sailed through on election time because
Sure.
there would have been pictures of Governor Sununu and victims of sex abuse sitting there, and they're crying, and the governor's holding them, and that's all you would know when you went to the voting booth. It would have been
Absolutely.
horrible.
And this is me putting my hand down gently there. I told us not to tap the table, so
Yeah,
I'm
yeah.
trying to obey the rules.
Very well done.
So
You can be a guest anytime you want.
one of the things one of the things you have to contend with, though, is you're running for Speaker of the House, and it's been my experience since I've been up there that there are, say, four candidate. Background. Speaker of the House typically is elected by the majority, whoever wins the majority.
Yes.
So if the
Typically.
Democrats win the majority of the House in November, then this conversation is irrelevant.
Yeah, but
because-
that's not going to happen, so
no,
this is
I
a
don't
good
think
conversation
it.
to
Yeah,
have.
I
That's
don't. I
right.
don't think it is either. I think the blue wave has subsided, and we're going to have a red tsunami by November. You can quote me on that.
Maybe in your chamber, but in my,
Yeah, whatever.
in my race, it's going to be quite a bit different.
Yeah,
It's gonna
whatever,
be
I don't-
Blue Bayou.
Blue. So
That's another subject.
that's another subject. That's another subject.
Yeah.
But so the Republicans get together in caucus in December and try to ferret out who their
Nominee.
flag bearer is going to
Yes.
be. And what I've seen over the years is you will have, say, 4 people running, and all 4 of them have 200 people pledged to support them. So either A, somebody is totally full of baloney, or there are 800 Republican legislators that I don't, or an extra 600 that I don't know about.
Yeah, that's why I don't worry about that.
Yeah.
It's the
It's-
votes on organization day. I mean, you want to be the nominee, but you
Right.
still have to have the votes on organization day. And I get it. I mean, Dick Hench and I are friends. We're both running for speaker. I
Right.
don't have a bad thing to say about him, and we have a lot of the same friends. They don't want to say, no, Steve, I'm voting for Dick. No, Dick, I'm voting for Steve. So we know that, some of them are going to say yes to everybody, and that's fine.
It is such a. I guess I do it wrong. I kind of want to be speaker, but my eyes are not good enough. I couldn't. You know how you have to recognize somebody when they come to the well?
Yeah.
Yeah, I couldn't recognize him. I would have no clue who that is.
Who are you?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Except his ponytail. I say, oh, that's Eric. I recognize him.
Well, that's easy. You find the same thing at every pony's tail, but we're moving on.
Anyway, so I don't get that. To me, if I'm going to support somebody, I tell them, hey, I'm supporting you, and that's it. I don't tell all 4 that I'm supporting them just in case, so I get a good seat on an aisle seat or some crap.
I don't know that that's it. I think they just don't want to get in the middle. Because you've been around long enough to see some of these things get ugly.
Oh, they get wicked ugly.
Yeah, so they're like, yeah, sure, I'll support you. And some candidates are pretty persistent. And if you just say, fine, I'll support you, then they go away.
Right,
So
right,
there's some
okay.
of that too.
Oh, okay, yeah.
There's a lot of reasons for our colleagues to
Shenanigans?
say that they're supporting multiple candidates, and they're not all malicious.
Well, as
dishonest,
tradition
though.
has it, it's an anonymous ballot, is it not?
Yeah.
Yes.
On Organization Day, despite the efforts of recent candidates in recent years to try to subvert that practice, I know.
Yeah.
I was in the room, but
It should be a secret
typically it's a
ballot, so
secret
that
ballot.
you don't have all that stuff afterwards.
Sure.
Yeah, I know-
Traitor and all that stuff.
Yeah, I know. That was actually. I know a guy came from down to vote for Bill O'Brien. Was that 2014? but I forget what year it was. It was 14. 2014, he came down. I didn't show up on the voting day or organization
We
day.
should tell the good folks at home what Organization Day is. for those that
Organization,
don't know.
yeah, you're right. Organization Day is the day when Republicans get together by themselves and try to figure out that's not Organization
No.
Day, that's Caucus Day.
Organization Day is the full House meets and elects their officers. So the Republicans and the Democrats, whoever has the majority, will bring forward a nominee.
Yep.
And then the Speaker of the House is the person elected by the entire House of Representatives, all parties.
Okay.
Correct.
That's Organization Day. We will have a party caucus for a House Republican and a House Democrat caucus where they decide who that nominee is going to be.
And these days, a House Libertarian Caucus, all two of them.
Yeah,
If there
Both of them.
remain two or more,
fair enough.
you know.
But anyway, so on Organization Day, they got together. One of this guy from up north said he came down fully expecting to vote for Bill O'Brien. And the first thing they did on Organization Day was get rid of the secret ballot and wanted to go to a roll call vote.
Yes.
Which that was the moment that person changed his vote,
There were a few. that did.
because he said, okay, so the only reason we would want a roll call vote is so you know exactly who voted for you and exactly who didn't vote for you,
Yes.
which gave that person the impression that Bill O'Brien was going to be as authoritarian as he promised he wouldn't.
Well, and I mean, the only thing you own in the House, 1 out of 400, is your vote.
Right.
And, I think we beat each other up too much about that. And in that case, you shouldn't have to worry about what your own party is going to say about you afterwards. So it's got to stay secret, because we'll have the fight. It can be spirited, and that's healthy sometimes. You get a lot of bad blood out, and just say things that you've been biting back. But the minute we have the nominee, we got to be one team, because the other side will smell weakness if we're that divided. and
Blood in
they
the
use it
water,
to
baby.
get at it. Yeah.
Yeah, I know. I actually.
And I have seen the effects of what you just said in the past myself,
gets pretty bad.
firsthand.
Yeah, and then it makes it hard for any speaker to manage the House when you have all those undercurrents going.
I showed up. I went in to congratulate Sean Jasper when he became Speaker in 14. And I had a carotid artery surgery like the week before, and I was getting the stitches out the day they were voting, So I go into his office, and I got my neck all bandaged up. And I says, yeah, Sean, I would have been here yesterday to vote, but I chose to have my throat slit instead.
Nice. Did I ever tell you the story of how he made me the chair of the Transportation Committee?
No.
It was hysterical. My first 4 years, Sean and I did not get along.
Okay.
And I don't think it was either one of our faults. It was one of those deals where one of us would have something going on, we'd be on opposite sides of it, and end up, a big bull and jam thing going on.
Right.
And so he didn't think much of me. I definitely didn't like him. He unexpectedly, as you remember, becomes the speaker.
Right, yeah, that was kind of weird.
Yeah. So he calls me a couple of weeks later, and he wants me to come in for a meeting. And I'm thinking, Sean, I haven't even done anything yet. Just give it time, And I said, can you just chew me out over the phone for whatever my perceived infraction is? And no, you have to come in for a meeting. Fine. Now, it takes me over an hour and a half to get to Concord.
Yeah, I know.
So I got an hour and a half to get good and primed for
You're
whatever
s-
fight
you're-
I'm
you're
walking
pissed.
into. Oh, yeah. I walk in, and there's the sea of mustaches. Well, not him. She's got to grow one. Packers
Everybody,
is
yeah.
impressive.
Right,
So-
yeah.
He's got a walrus going there.
It does. It's got a life
great.
of its own. I expect it to just slither away one of these days. But, so I go in, what? And they're grinning. Like, what is so funny? I didn't go the full Pesci, but it was close.
You're getting closer, yeah.
Well, we want to make you the chairman of the Transportation Committee. Like, what? No, really, why am I here? Why isn't Packard the chair of the Transportation Committee?
Exactly.
And Sean said, look, I know we haven't gotten along. That was yesterday. One thing I know about you, if you say you're going to do something, you're going to do it, and you don't care who likes it. So that's all I'm looking for.
Right.
And it worked out. Very first thing I did was kill the only bill he sponsored. And
Okay, Sean.
it was one that I had been publicly against for a while, but I did it right. I Didn't go to the press. No offense. I didn't go to the papers or anything. I went to his office and I said, Sean, we got a situation. If you want the gavel back, I understand, but I can't get your bill through. Because now I know it's fine. If you handle it like a gentleman and give people respect, you can disagree with them
Yeah.
and still have a working relationship afterwards.
Oh yeah, we killed one of his bills in judiciary. I think it might have been the same year, pretty harshly too. But I always enjoy that.
I think Steve just made a really sage observation about why decorum matters, and more Americans and certainly more politicians or policymakers could stand to be reminded of what you just said, which
Thank
is
you.
you handle yourself like a gentleman and you demonstrate respect when it's due. You can continue to have a working relationship. You don't have to agree all the time.
Yes. Yeah. Don't go to war. Just disagree. You know. And
Yeah, I was saying that we had a forum for legislators in my district last Thursday, and people were asking about Democrats and Republicans fighting it out all the time. I says, well, what you see on TV isn't really reality in Concord. I mean, are there extremists that want to fight over everything and get ridiculous? Yeah, there's a few, but most of the time you're working with people.
most of the time.
I mean, like some of the Democrats on my committee are awesome, really sharp, really cool people.
Yeah,
You know,
knowledgeable.
who I like a lot, but I just disagree with them a whole bunch of times.
Yeah.
Which is
make
different.
the process fair.
Yeah,
And, well, we had, I think it was 4 years ago, a bill, the membership on a commission.
yeah,
I don't think it was going to be a big deal, but it turned out that there was a labor representative, so that's a union guy. All of a sudden, it becomes a big deal.
right.
Our guys, got to get the union guy off of there, and immediately the Democrats, got to have the union guy on there, or it's an attack on labor. And oh, wow. And, reading the bit, it's a commission. They can spend no money, make no policy. They get in a room and talk once a month, so I don't care.
Right.
And then
that's the
file a
reality.
report when they're done after 10 months or
Sure.
something, right?
Yeah, that's about it. Yeah. So, I'm really going to have a fight about this. So I got the ranking Democrat in the office, and I said, I don't want to have this fight, George. So, but my guys want me to have the fight. Here's what we'll do. We'll each draft an amendment to the bill. Mine won't have the union guy. Yours will. We'll flip a coin. Whoever wins the coin toss gets to propose their amendment in committee first. If you win, we're done. The other guy keeps the amendment in his pocket. That's how we did it. It turns out he won, and it didn't matter. But because I treated him with respect and let them win when it didn't cost me anything, he didn't fight me on some big-ticket items that we really needed.
Right, right.
Bought yourself some goodwill.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can't just hammer on him all the time.
Well, I got better than that.
Mo-
Paul Birch sits like right near me in Judiciary Committee.
He's a smart guy.
He is a really smart guy.
Yeah.
And he kept coming in with his tie, and it was Marvin the Martian. And I kept looking at it. Every time he'd show up with it, I'd look at it and stare at it. Eventually, he just gave it to me.
Gadzooks.
I love Marvin the Martian. Hey,
Yeah.
I would be remiss if I don't ask you. One of the most glaring problems that I've seen in the time that I've been at the State House is that I don't know if it's Stockholm syndrome, but the committees over time end up representing the departments they're affiliated with rather than the people. In other words, when I was on Fish and Game Committee, the people from Fish and Game are always super friendly. They're really nice. They bring you over there and show you around, and it's all wonderful. So within a few months, you end up representing the Fish and Game department, and the heck with the people.
Yep.
And do you have any notion as to how you can remedy that so that people are not so like you? There's certain committees in the House that I don't know if they've ever represented the people anymore. They just represent the departments they are
I don't know if it's
affiliated with.
that bad. Now, Fish and Game is an outlier because they have the Master Jedi on the mountain somewhere, the commission,
Yeah,
and they pass down judgment, and that's it. And they do not interact with us. I've had conflicts with them.
yep,
Fish and Game will send one of their conservation officers in. That's the guy that I have as a liaison. And we'll agree in principle on something, and then 3 days before a hearing, he'll come back and say, well, the commissioners voted to take the opposite position. There's nothing I can do.
Right.
Well, okay, get me a meeting with the commissioners. I'll go there. They can come here. Don't care how it happens. They're not interested. Fish and Game is a separate problem. Committee chairs have a lot of power, though, about how that works with agencies that need things from them. I have a great relationship with the Department of Safety. I can tell the DMV director or the assistant commissioner, I know you're not going to like it, but this is what I'm going to do, so help me do it right. And
Right.
they get that. And when they ask for stuff that doesn't matter, then you help them with that. And we did the decal license plate program so that we could stop having expensive proposals that we have to say no to for good groups that do good work.
Oh, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. There was like, they wanted a special license plate for everything.
Everybody does, and some of them we really wanted to say yes to, but you can't because it's 300 grand a plate because of the software updates.
Right.
So I said, we'll just make the one. You put the stickers on it. We don't touch the money for the stickers. It makes it clean and simple, but it is going to cost some money to do this once, but I want it to be revenue neutral. So where do we get the money from? So we took it out of the plate reissue fund, and the DMV director did that work for me.
Okay.
In exchange, you try to help them. So I think you have a give and take like that. I haven't been in the other committees. I don't know if that's how it works there.
Right.
When I'm the speaker, it will work that way because we're going to train them on how to do it.
Yeah, I think it's going to be necessary to train people in committees to make sure they don't fall into the trap of becoming too cozy with the people. You know, it's like we got Howie Zibble comes to my committee all the time, and he's a nice guy and he's always super friendly.
And who is Howie Civil?
Howie Zibble is the liaison. Did I say that right?
Close
Finally,
From the state Supreme Court and the court to the Judiciary Committee.
Judiciary Committee of the House, yeah, okay.
And he's very smart and he's very good, but you always have to realize that he's pushing an agenda. You always have to take what he says and does with a certain amount of perspective. So
Not
you
even more so because he's representing a different branch of government.
correct,
So,
and it's
Good
very
point.
dangerous. It's
Good
very
point. Yeah.
yeah, they don't give us orders.
No.
They can rule on the constitutionality of what we pass, but they shouldn't have input into what we pass. We represent the people. That's what we do.
I know, and it's a very precarious thing because we have passed things in the House, and they will decide that it has an alternate meeting, and then you ask them, well, you heard the testimony, you knew it. We says we don't care what the testimony is. All we care about is what the legislation actually says, and how we want to interpret it.
Yeah.
So they don't really. They have a certain disdain or basically disdain for what the House does. There's an arrogance there that's pretty pervasive.
Yeah, and I am fiercely partisan about the power of the House. I know they're supposed to be separate but equal branches of government.
They're not supposed to be separate but
we are
equal.
the ones that represent the people. We are the closest to them. That's why there are so many of us.
The premise that we are separate but equal is not true. They are not equal. They are inferior.
Which one?
The judiciary is inferior to the House,
To the legislative branch.
the legislative branch. The legislative branch can tomorrow disband the judiciary and set up a new one.
That's true, if that exists in the New Hampshire Constitution.
It does.
We are the general court.
We are the general court. We are superior to them, whether they wear black dresses or not.
they're
Interesting
frocks.
observation.
Frocks.
Are they frocks? I know, and you can't say that word without making a face, right?
No,
That's
no,
a
you
great
can't.
word. You have to.
Very foppish word. I want to take a white glove and
No, don't. Not on
insulted
TV.
my honor, sir.
I didn't even bring my swords. Sorry.
You got swords?
I do.
Really?
Yeah.
Are you a sword guy,
I used to
too?
be an instructor, yeah.
I am
real-
too.
Nice.
Wait. What kind
I
of
did not
sweet-
know that about you.
I don't even know why my wife married me, because I live in the woods, and I mean in the woods. You're off the pavement a half a mile, driving through trees before you get to my house. The last part of the, I guess it's a driveway, before you get to the house is this big hump, so you can't see it, so you're like 50 feet away. The first time she ever came to my house, we got a big fire going, and my son and I are working out with claymores. That's
Yeah.
a big sword.
I have 3.
Yeah, they're heavy.
I was thinking of the bombs. I'm going, what?
So-
no,
no.
not the blowing up ones.
No, it's a
the
big
cutting
double-handed barbarian type sword.
Yeah.
And so so we're out there by the fire going, and that's what she was early, or we would have been all done. So she drives over the hill, and there's this giant fire, and clang, 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 and I don't know.
Did one of you shriek, "There will be only one"?
No, he's my son. You know what are you gonna do?
Yeah.
But no, he's pretty good too. He had the discipline to hold still when I was showing him how to do things.
Right.
If you get somebody twitchy, you can't work with them.
Mostly, yeah. And you taught him footwork, which is
Yes.
foundational, obviously.
Yeah.
What are you guys talking about?
We're going to be talking about this. This is very interesting. Yeah.
Yeah,
So,
it's
I
a
did
good
not
time.
know that about you. That's great.
So anyway, what are you talking about? So, so you're not talking.
People having interests
Yeah.
other than politics.
I'm glad it's my show.
Yeah.
It's no. So you're not talking fencing. You're talking
No.
about real manly.
Well, just a different kind of swords from a different time.
It is. The difference between these types of swords and fencing is you got to plan ahead. It isn't a little foil where you can just flick it with
Right.
your wrist.
Right.
You have to figure out your plan of attack, make a commitment, execute it, and be ready to deal with the fallout.
Okay.
Just like the Speaker of the House, I guess, right?
Pretty much. Nice metaphor. See what you did there.
And you worked that right back in. That's pretty
Yeah,
good.
That's really good.
How heavy are those?
I don't even know. I
Are
probably
yours
should-
battle ready? Are
The-
yours battle ready? Or do-
Yeah.
You know,
I
battle
forgot the
capable.
acronym for the Combat League, the medieval one. It starts with an S. Anyway, it's rated for those
You're
guys.
talking about SEA?
Yes.
Society of Creative Anachronisms. I've got a lot of friends that do that. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
So.
you can swing them and the hilts don't fall off. So
It's very interesting. Yeah, I participate in armored combat. There's
Oh,
actually
cool.
a literal armored combat league. It's worldwide, and America's gold medalist, one of 2, instructs in Nashua. Believe it or not. So pretty cool.
you'll appreciate this. I'm in a secondhand store in Newport, and it's one of those places that used to be a shack, and they had a couple of Highlander replica swords.
Sure.
Okay, so I pick out the first one.
The
That's
McLeod sword.
Yeah, so it's the Connor McLeod full buggy one. Probably made in Pakistan. Not that they don't make good stuff, but you can't use it. It's a display piece.
But it's cool. It's leather wrapped. And,
It is, and you can feel a little bit of a shake. Okay,
Sure.
so I put that back in, and then I take out the one that's supposed to be the samurai, razor sharp. And it was just sitting out, like leaning against. I know. I'm like, okay, so first you need to put this behind the counter, and it's worth a little bit more than $35 that you have on it. So
And you might want to find a scabbard.
yeah. Oh, it had a scabbard.
Oh, it did.
But still, she's not even watching me. I picked it up. You could slice paper with this thing. And it was perfect.
Yeah.
Wow.
Sword chatter.
So that's okay.
Sorry.
No, I didn't have any agendas for
bo-
tonight anyway.
We
so.
both became 13 for a little while there.
Yeah.
Well, that's actually I
That's
think
okay.
the cool part about being a guy. You're always at least a little 13.
Well, yeah. I think it's the cool thing about being in the House because you learn, you'll learn that even though people have differences politically from time to time, that this whole other group of thinking, engaged neighbors, really, from all over the state that are worth knowing.
Yes. And you never know what you're going to have in common.
Right, exactly.
I didn't see that coming. I'm always afraid to bring up the sword thing because people look at me like, wow, you're a freak.
Super
No.
freak. Super freak.
No.
That's stuck in my head now. Thanks. I haven't even thought of Rick James in like a decade. Is he out of jail?
I don't know that
Rick
he was
James?
in jail.
He and his wife had some woman shackled up in their basement, and they,
No,
know?
no, I didn't
Yeah.
know. I don't pay attention to
I don't
gossip,
either,
so
but this one
What do you
kind of hits you in
expect?
the
He's a
eyes.
super freak.
I guess but
Living the dream.
He's living the dream. He actually had some woman locked up in his
They
basement.
did, yeah. That's serious
Oh,
time.
that's horrible.
Yeah.
We love our celebrities. Oh, yeah.
That is so
don't ever
bad.
want to be one. It's like something just happens to you. So,
Yeah, that's actually one of the things that I've seen up in with the one thing. If you become speaker, we got to figure out or should do is. Do you have any thoughts about the Attorney General's office? The Attorney General's office is,
The New Hampshire Attorney General?
yeah,
Okay.
is to me one of the most horrible departments in the state.
The way it's managed, or just
The
the
way
fact
it's
that
managed,
it
and it
exists?
doesn't seem to matter who is managing it. Like, for instance, when we did Marcy's Law, they just came up and BS'd us. You know what I mean? They're basically lying to us. And it's and there's
Well, there's servants and there's masters, so who's the master?
Yeah,
the
exactly.
Attorney General is the governor's employee.
I know.
Truth.
Well, that's kind of what makes me.
Truth.
If you look at what happened with the priesthood, the reason the Catholic priesthood or the Catholicism was hurt so badly,
I'm terrified right now. Continue.
no, it wasn't the individual priests, not to me. Individual people, no matter what branch of anything you are involved in, if it's teachers, cops, priests, it doesn't make any difference what it is. There are always going to be a percentage that are corrupt and abuse that position. It is human nature. It will always be true. What isn't always necessarily or does not have to be true is whether or not you support them and protect them. Because it was not the priests, to me, that were the big problems with the Catholic Church. It was the hierarchy of the Catholic Church protecting those priests from prosecution. They should have been taken to the center of town and drawn and quartered. Okay? And then there would be a lot less priests messing around with little kids.
So
And-
it was the saving of face and the
Yeah, it was. It
serial
was.
cover-ups
It was.
that were-
It was the all boy network, so to speak, kind of circling the wagon and protecting.
which demonstrates that there's a systemic problem when an organization tries to protect itself from
Well,
scandal.
that no, all organizations do that. That's the
Okay.
problem, and that's why I have a huge problem with the Attorney General's office.
Yeah, I don't know if the speaker can actually do anything about that.
That-
You would need
that's-
legislation.
Yeah, exactly.
Something so let's go all controversial. Something the speaker can do something about is what happened with SB 193 and Representative Kirk.
All right.
So you have the chair of finance. SB 193, the education choice bill. Obviously, this is a
Second,
big,
we got Eddie on line one.
Forgive us, we have a caller. That's our
All right.
We
prompt
only get
screen
one
that-
call a
that,
night, so we'll take it.
So we're going to bring it on.
Yeah.
We've got Eddie.
Hi, Eddie. What's up?
Welcome to the show, Eddie. Welcome to the show, Eddie.
Gary. Hey.
Howdy.
Hey, listen, Gary, I guess I got more of a comment than a question, but you mentioned how poor of a job the Attorney General's office does, right?
Yeah.
And is part of that related because of their lack of prosecution of voter fraud? No matter how much evidence of voter fraud they're presented with?
Yes, that's
they
part of it.
basically lay an egg?
Yep.
Okay, that would be, now, also, the Attorney General's office has the Consumer Protection Division, right?
Correct.
If you ever get, defrauded and you go to them seeking retribution, they have this pat answer, business deal gone bad, feel free to take them to court, right?
Yeah.
But that's a civil, can't help you, right? That's a business deal. So that's another thing where they just kind of lay an egg. So I just wanted to say I kind of agree with you there.
All right. Thanks, Eddie. Yeah, that's just the
Thanks,
tip
Eddie.
of the iceberg. But
well,
what-
in cases like that, you can pass legislation to require them to act in certain circumstances.
yeah, we already have that in legislation. But the thing is they don't do anything about it. The FRM is another example where they claim that they did everything they're supposed to do, but basically they did nothing other than pass the buck.
Well, we can't fire them, we can't discipline
That's
them,
not
but
necessarily
we can pass
true.
penalties on them.
That is not necessarily true. We can pass legislation or a constitutional amendment to have their position become like the Secretary of State and appointed by the House. So that the people actually have a say as to who is the Attorney General, as opposed to whoever sucks up to the governor the most. Because that's what's going on now. I mean, I'll give you an example. I've said it on the show before. We had a, because to me, like, the reason there are cops that go off the rails isn't, it's always going to be the case that there's a cop that either has a momentary lapse of judgment or is fundamentally corrupt. That's expected. What we don't, we shouldn't have is an attorney general that protects them. I mean, protects them if they're not, there's no wrongdoing. They shouldn't be, throwing people under the bus. By the same token, they should be holding cops accountable when they do go off the rails.
Well, and there's precedent for that. I could get behind that idea, because we appoint the state treasurer.
Correct.
Yeah, why not?
And
They
because
should be spending most of their time defending the laws that we pass.
but they don't. Just recently, I didn't read this article, so my wife was telling me about it. But my understanding is that we told them to investigate voter fraud, and instead they started investigating money that was spent by lobbyists. They completely flipped around and says, no, we're not going to investigate.
I don't remember. Were we specific in our request?
I think that's the problem too, is you got department heads who, if they even do a cursory look as to what was intended by the House, it's easy to surmise. But they look at exactly what we wrote and say, oh no, we can get away with this.
Yeah, sometimes it's miscommunication too. I never start out with it's malicious.
Yeah, well, I've had a lot of run-ins with the AG over the years, and that's one reason I don't vote for the death penalty anymore, because I don't trust them. I have very little faith in the Attorney General's office. And I'd go into other stories, but we only have a few minutes. But I want to give you the time. I don't want
Yeah, let's.
Thanks.
to. Sorry.
Yeah, so one of the things I do different, if I can go totally off topic there.
Go. Yeah, go ahead.
Please
A
do.
lot of times the leadership team is made up of the people that have the time to be in Concord 3 days a week.
Yes.
In this day and age where we have video conferencing, we have all kinds of electronic communications tools, project management software, so you can throw a task up for somebody to do, that's ridiculous. The leadership team should be spread out throughout the entire state. Another thing is, I don't think that we're assigning jobs. I mean, there's enough work to do. I don't think that we would lose as many big bills if we had project management type teams making sure they go all the way through outside of the committee process. The committee chair has enough work to do. He's responsible for all the bills. So put teams on that. We got, what, a half a dozen assistant majority leaders? Are you one?
No.
Okay.
No.
And I asked because there's that many. I never know who they are.
Right.
I'm a committee chairman, and I don't know who they all are because they don't interact with me. They should have a job description. No more appointments to satisfy a portion of the caucus. Well, we'll give the HRA guys one of the assistant majority positions and they'll be happy. That's crap.
Right.
Each of the assistant majority leader positions should be a specific job. You're going to work on this. You are going to make sure that these 5 bills go all the way through, and if there are going to be objections that could kill those bills, I expect to know about them, 3 weeks ahead of time so that I can do something about it,
Right.
not the day we're voting.
I was thinking too on a committee level, because by default, it's possible that I might be the chairman. I don't think, I think they'd probably find a lawyer to do it, but let's say if I was chairman of Judiciary next year, I think there should be a way of sitting down with my Republican caucus in the committee and dissecting the bills and saying, hey, you need to, these are some pretty cool bills. I need you to do a deep dive on them, because there's I can't speak to other committees, but we get some bills that are really complicated. And if you don't have somebody that really knows it, they can be either killed or passed.
Well, why aren't they sending those to a subcommittee to do that deep dive and then
They're-
explain it to the rest of you?
Because typically we get so many bills that would have like a gazillion subcommittees too. Some of them we do, but not all of them.
Yeah, there's lots of tools that you can use. I mean, you have committee researchers that.
We have a committee researcher, but the researchers are, I think he's, also does child and family and some
They
other
do
stuff.
a few committees, but they do what you ask them to. Mine's
Right.
great. Anything I ask for, I get.
Yeah,
So there's ways to do that. One of the challenges in committee, though, is finding the people to do that, which is why I wouldn't limit it to that.
yeah,
When we have stuff that needs to be researched, I have the same 3 or 4 people out of 20 that do all the work.
yeah, which is,
And it's tough. One of them is a little abrasive. He doesn't get along with people well. But when I ask Representative Horn to get me something by Friday, I go to sleep knowing I'm going to get it by Friday.
that's pretty awesome.
And, if I had more than 4 people, it could be spread around much. But I've been asked, why do you keep giving them stuff to do? Because people don't like them. First of all, I don't care who likes anybody. Back to my factory analogy, we have deadlines to hit, and I need that project by Friday, period. And I don't care who does it.
That's true. The conveyor belt doesn't stop because of this or that.
Exactly. Think of the deadline. What we do is
Hey.
insane.
We only get, I know it is insane. Steve, we only got 20 seconds left.
Okay.
How can people get in touch with you if they want to support you for speaker or
My
just want to
email
ask you
is
questions? And
NHFIRST, like New Hampshire First, @gmail.com.
yeah,
My phone number is 603-826-5940, 826-5940, and my website is steve4nh.com.
okay, Steve.
Terrific. Organized.
Organized and everything.
We got a great candidate for speaker.
Thank you.
Hey, Steve, thank you very much, sir.
Thanks for joining us, and thanks for joining us out there in TV land. Appreciate it.